Last week, I showed you how to create a cool micro interaction on a button using Adobe XD. But today, we're going to show you how to make it a reality in the browser. Sweet. What is up, everybody? Gary Simon here. Today, we are going to step into the world of front-end development, and I'm going to show you, because many of you requested it, how to create this micro interaction based on a button click that I showed you how to create in Adobe Experience Design like a week or two ago. It's kind of like an elaborate sort of interaction of sorts, and we're gonna use the green sock animation platform, something I'm a big fan of. It's called GSAP otherwise. If you're new to that, I have so many tutorials. Just do a channel search and there's crash courses and everything on how to use it. It's just a JavaScript animation library that makes doing this type of stuff relatively easy, but this isn't very straightforward. There's a few different steps involved in trying to pull this off. So just real quickly again, I'll show you the end result. Click this. We have SVG animating in here. We have a number of different things occurring. So as always, make sure to subscribe and let's get started. But wait 1 second. You're about to watch me create a really cool front-end development micro interaction of sorts. But what if you're not very good at front-end development like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? Well, the sponsor of this video, Scrimba, has you covered. They've recently launched their front-end development career path, which is a collection of courses that cover HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, and much, much more, as you see. It's over 75 hours of awesome content. There are hundreds of interactive coding challenges, and it's all geared towards helping you go from beginner to someone that's hireable as a front-end developer. So check out the first link in the description below to get 50% off. Alrighty, we have Visual Studio Code open here, and we have just a few things, index.html, just some boilerplate. We have our CSS linked here in a CSS folder called main.css, and then also a main Sass file. I'm using the live Sass compiler as well as to watch this, and then as well as the live browser. So these two, live Sass compiler and live server. Did I say browser? All right, so right click, open with live server, so we can get our live reloading going. And of course, I'll go ahead and situate this just over here. We're just gonna keep and stick with the same idea of what do you call the mobile. Sorry, I'm doing two things at once. I can't talk. Yeah, just keeping like a mobile variation, just because it's a single element. It doesn't matter. So let's get the HTML out here first. We're gonna have everything centered in the middle. Normally, if it was just one button, I would just put the button here. We'd use the body as a grid container to place items center. However, we have two items there. Just to show you, we have this as well. So that's why I'm just going to take a single container element, and inside of here, we're gonna have our button. My hands were in the wrong position. Button. And then also outside of that, we'll have a paragraph element just for next. And this shows up at the very end. All right, so this is what we look like so far. Horrible. All right, button. Inside of button, we're going to have a couple spans. Now, I researched this to make sure that this is still valid HTML. You can't put divs and stuff like that, but you can put a span element or span elements inside of your button. All right, so span, a label, or class of label rather. All right, and the reason I'm wrapping this in its own span and not just putting, the label text without being wrapped in some sort of element is because we want to be able to control when that thing fades in and out. So we'll target that specifically, this label class. Confirm. And then another span class of icon. And inside of here, we're actually going to have an SVG element. And we'll get to that in a second. But for now, this is pretty good. This is all the HTML that we need. We're going to go ahead and style the CSS. All right, so for the CSS, I'm just going to paste in the body rule set here. Nothing's exciting's happening. We have a background color and margin 0, display grid, place items center. So it takes that single container column or class rather and just puts it in the center. In order for that to work vertically, you have to put height, 100 viewport height. We also have color and a font, all that good stuff. I already have this one installed, so I'm not importing it. Otherwise, if this was real, you would want to do that. Import it from Google Fonts or wherever you wish. Next up is a massive rule set, our button, all right? We have a lot of things happening here, all right? So background is going to be none. I mean, I'll save after each one of these. You can see kind of what's happening. I'm also going to make this a little bit larger. All right, background none. All right, border none. So we're getting rid of the border. Color white. Awesome. Position is going to be relative. You'll see why it's going to be relative in a second. Remind them why. I'm going to give myself a reminder to show why I'm putting position relative. We'll get to that in a second, like I said. Padding, 0.5 EM on the top and the bottom, and then 1 M on the right and left. We're going to do font weight bold, font size 2 M units. So now we can probably scale this down. And then also we're going to do text align center. We're also going to have a border of 2-pix solid white. Cursor is going to be pointer. Border radius is going to be 0.2 M units. So just a very, brief border. And then outline is going to be none, because if you click on this right now, it gives us that little outline. It's a tiny little dashed outline. Save that. It won't give us that outline anymore. And then finally, width, I put to 10 M units. Now we can make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so next up, let's revert back to our design here. You see how this background is offset from this little situation right here? And while I'm at it, I'm just going to set this to 0 and that to 0. Well, the way we can achieve that is by using the before selector here. Oops, we have to put and before. All right, and we're going to make this position absolute. And we'll do content is going to be empty. Background is going to be a slightly darker color, which I already have that color code offhand, so I'm just going to paste that in. Oops, I didn't get the hash sign. All right. We're going to do a height of 100% and a width of 100%. And now you can see this. Now, the reason why we have position relative is because the button is the parent container of this, right? Or it's not the parent container, rather. This before selector is based on this button element. If we didn't put position relative, watch what happens. It just fills up the whole screen. And then additionally, if we try to position it, like if we say top 0.5 M units and then left 0.5 M units, it would just do it in relation to the overall browser. Position relative helps fix that issue. So position relative, that means that this absolutely positioned element is going to be positioned relative based on, its parent, I guess you could say. So we're also going to put in a z-index of -1 so that we can see the outline on top of it and the text. Look at that. Border radius is going to be 0.2 M units. And there we go. That's it for the initial button. Now, you may be wondering why I decided not to include this little thing. So if we hit play, we hover over it and we see this cool little sort of animation there. Well, the reason I didn't is because it requires so many extra steps to try to create that sort of border dashed animation that you see here. I was looking up potential solutions because it's not straightforward. It's always a hacky way to do that sort of thing. And a lot of the solutions require adding extra elements here, and then like a bunch of different hacky sort of CSS. So I decided not to do that. If somebody wants to take the CodePen, which is linked in the description, and actually do it, that would be awesome. All right, I decided not to do it though. All right, so next up, after that, we need to start worrying about, we could take this in a few different directions. Let's first, let's get a paragraph, this little next down here. let's get that styled up. So that says next, but we don't want to see it by default. So we're going to use clip path, and it's going to be a circle. So when we put 0%, it means we can't see it. If we did like 50% or 20% or come on, seriously? There we go. Now you can see it's like a circle, so it hides it. All right, so let's just put 0 here, and then we will animate this property using GSAP a little bit down the road. All right, so now we click it, nothing happens, of course, because we haven't included our GSAP. So if we get out another browser window here, and then we type in GSAP 3 CDN, we go there, copy this one right here, then we can come down just above the closing body tag, and now we have GSAP. Now script, we have that as well. Now while we're there, don't close that out, we need the CSS rule plugin as well for GSAP. So we'll put that right there. And the reason we need the CSS rule plugin is because if you want to gain access to and the ability to create animations from GSAP on the before selector, you need the CSS rule plugin. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is put GSAP register plugin, and that is CSS rule plugin. It'd be helpful if I didn't screw up my typing. We're going to create a constant of timeline. So GSAP timeline. By the way, if you've never used GSAP before, I have so many videos on it. We're going to put a default easing of this. So ease is going to be power 2, ease out. Alrighty. We're also, oh, don't do that. We're also going to go ahead and put in a button document.query selector. We need to get access to our button. So just our button up top gives us access to this. And Control B to get rid of that sidebar. There we go, much better. Also, our role, all right? So when you use the CSS rule plugin, you have to define a variable here, CSS rule plugin, based on what you need to get. So get role is gonna be button before, the before selector, because that's the one that we targeted. All right, so that's all we need in the way of variables. Now we're going to create the first bits of the animation. So I can hide or close that rather, and we'll see this start to work. So timeline 2, you can also use the from method. We're going to go to these properties that we're about to define. All right, the first parameter is going to be the selector. So label. So the label class is right here, span class. So we want to hide. We're just going to opacity, just dim the opacity to 0. That's going to be the first step of our multi-part animation. So to do that, next parameter, we open up properties here. So opacity 0, and then we're going to, we'll just hit save here. You can see when we save it, it just dims out. All right, pretty quick. We're going to put a delay on things though. So if I put delay 1, that'll give us a little bit of time just to see it in its initial state before everything crazy starts to happen. And of course, we'll make this work ultimately on a click, but for now, we're just gonna add that delay. We'll remove it in a second. Next up, what's the next thing we want to happen? Again, well, I could show you the original. Might as well just show you the original again real quick. So we click it, the thing fades out, and then the button collapses into a circle. All right, so next up is going to be 2. We're going to take our button, and we're going to change the border radius of our button to 50%. Right now it's like 0.2 em units or something like that. 50% will make it, you know, like an oval shape. Let's just show what that looks like. There it goes. We don't want that, so we need to also adjust the width. We're going to set a width of 2.5 em units, a height of 2.5 em units as well. That way we know it's going to be a perfect circle. and it happens too slow, right? I mean, we want this to happen quicker. So we're gonna add offset at the end, and the offset will be ½ a second. So it's gonna be, you put a comma here, and there's a third parameter. We put it in semi-quotes. We want it to happen sooner, so we put a negative. If you want more of a delay than what is natural, you put a plus. So negative, and then equals, and then the amount, 0.5 seconds. Now, notice how that looked kind of weird? Like it kind of pushes off. I'm gonna add some other properties right here. We're gonna put a height of 0 and then a position of absolute. There we go. I think I need to add, actually it kind of looked very similar. Oh, that's because I spelled position wrong. All right, it's still not looking how I want it. We're gonna make the duration a lot quicker. So duration, let's put in 0.2 seconds. There we go, I like that better. Okay, so now next up, we need to, notice how this background is still a square. We need to adjust that as well. And that's where the CSS rule plugin comes in. We have the rule right here. So we put 2, rule, which is defined above, border radius is gonna be 50%. And it's also gonna happen quickly, so 1 second. Wait, what's up? I messed up. There we go. Get back over there. Nice. Awesome, let's play it again. All right, nice. Now, next up, now it's time to work with the SVG, which means we need to get back into Adobe XD. You could use any other app like Adobe Illustrator or whatever, anything that's SVG capable. And we have to work with our check mark, or yeah, the check mark situation. So what I'm gonna do to make this go as smooth as possible, we're gonna put this is just temporary. We're not gonna export it, but this rectangle that goes from the very top of it to the very bottom. And we're gonna hide this. There we go. So now we've encased it, and it's basically just, it's there to serve as a visual representation when we adjust these 3 anchor points that make a part of this checkbox or check mark, and turn it into this right here. And it's important that they're around the same size, because when you go to export them and then you try to animate them, if they're not like in the same size, part of it can get cut off. So I found this to be the best way to do that. So what you want to use is a copy SVG plugin. If you go to your plugins panel, it's called Copy SVG Code. If you don't have it installed, just go to plugins, go to manage plugins, or browse plugins or whatever, and then just search for that plugin and install it. So we're gonna select this checkbox right here, check mark rather. I keep on saying checkbox. Copy SVG code, and we just take this, Control C to copy, and then we're going to revert back to our document here, and we're gonna put that right in here. So there's a few things happening. We have the closing SVG tag. We have a path, a single path right here. This stuff's important because that defines the locations of our anchor points. And then we have some kind of just some style right here that's, you know, embedded. Stroke dash array, that's something important that we want to consider, because that's how we're going to create the animation of the check mark coming in and out. And by default, we don't want this one, these values. These values is what it's going to be animating to, because that's what's showing currently right here. We want this one. It's in here somewhere. It's hidden there. The reason it's hidden is because the dash value is 0. If we crank this up, we can start to see it. See that? So we want a 0 for that value. So if we go back, we can put 0 here, and then we're good. We can also get rid of that XMLS part. In terms of anything else to get rid of, we can keep everything else here as is. All right. And we can't see it, of course, because it's hidden because we have 0. If I were to take that 0 and put it back to like 90 and save, you're going to see it now. And of course, it's all messed up, and we'll get that situated in a second. In fact, we can do that right now. We're going to take we're going to put SVG, and we're going to put position absolute. Top is going to be 0.7 M units, left 0.5 M units, and that's how it's positioning it basically. There we go. And that's good right here. All right. Of course, you know, it's not going to animate in like that ultimately. Let's hide that back again. So we're changing that 90 to 0. And now we can go ahead and take the next 2 in our little chain, and we're going to target the SVG element. And inside of here, we put stroke dash array. And we do this camel case thing when it comes to JavaScript and dealing with CSS property names. That's just what you do, because normally it looks like stroke dash like this. We have to specify it like that. And then we're going to put in the values 90 and 103. And then we're going to make this occur 0.7 seconds sooner than normal. There we go. Is there an issue? Hello? Hello? Why aren't you working? Oh, there's an error. Oh, that's why. What am I doing? I'm all over the place. Now this isn't working. Why is that not working? Well, one thing I'm going to try real quickly. We're going to take it out of here. We're going to put it right here. Now, it is not working the way I expected it to. So let me make sure I have everything. Oh, yeah, of course it's not working correctly. Wait, no, it should be working correctly. What am I doing? I'm looking at my reference monitor, 9103. Yeah. Okay. Let's refresh this to see what's happening. Looks like it's happening pretty fast, doesn't it? Is there an animation? I don't know. Let's put a duration of 1. Yeah, it looks like it is happening, but let's do this. Let's not put the S at the end. Haha, there we go. Putting the S at the end was screwing situations up. That's what we want. Awesome. All right, so now that's the first part of, that's basically the second step. Let's make this like 1. I want it to happen a little bit faster, 0.3, 1.3 rather. There we go, I like that. So now, the next part of the animation, it goes to this situation. So if we hit play, let's go back here. I was on the wrong artboard. All right, so it reverts back to that, or not reverts, but it progresses to that, you know, the right arrow thing. So let's go back to here. So now you can copy this or whatever you want. Let's to make a duplicate. We'll hide that one. We're going to double click to get access to the anchor points. We're going to put one like right around here. We'll put this one around here. Put this one here. Now this isn't probably, that looks actually pretty even. If you wanted to, you could ensure that this is, you know, exactly even as you wanted it to be, but this is actually pretty good for me. So now we go back to the copy SVG plugin. Wrong panel. And this time we don't need to copy everything. Actually, I will copy everything, but we're just going to get out Notepad. And the only thing we need is right here. Everything in the D attribute. All right, so now what we do is we go over here. We're gonna put 2. What element is that we want? Do we want to animate? And that is the path. The path element, which is right here. All right. So we put path. We put, this time, we don't want to, well, what we wanted to animate is an attribute, which is the D attribute. So we have to put in attr, and then we open up another array of objects, and we put in D, which is the attribute name, and then we put in semicolons right here, what we just pasted, and then we do the 2 closing tags right there, and then we can also put we're gonna make this start 1 second later than normal. So that looks pretty good. Let's see if this works. There. Let's watch that again. All right, very, very, very cool. And at that time, we need to show our next text beneath it. And this is our final part of the animation. We're gonna do clip path, circle, 100% this time. Right now it's 0 at 50%, 50%. And we're gonna specify a duration just to make this a little bit longer. 1.2. And it doesn't work. What am I doing wrong? All right, paragraph, clip path, circle. Ah, that's why. Forgot the closing parenthesis. Yeah, that kind of shows up a little bit too long. Let's try 0.3. It was 1.2. We're gonna do point. Wow. Completely don't need this. Actually, we might need to start it sooner. It's kind of funny how your code just breaks, even though you already did it. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Let's put -1. That is so strange because I'm telling you, it looks exactly as we would want it to. This needs removed. This is already a long tutorial. All right, that's better. Let's do 1.4. Well, last time, I promise you. There we go. I like that. Okay, so now I wanted to make the animation a little bit more interesting. So we're going to use an ease, custom ease, and it's going to be applied onto the button right here. So at the end, we put this right here: ease, elastic, ease out, config, 0.7, 0.3. Where did I get that? Well, GSAP easings. You type that in Google, first result, here's all the easings. So here's elastic. This is what I want. It kind of bounces up and down. It really changes the dynamic of the animation. Let's save that first. Now look at that. It kind of just snaps into place. So now what we can do is we're going to pause this. So we're going to take our timeline, pause. Now it's not going to play at all. All right, because we paused it. Now we take our button, which is BTN defined above. We add an event listener, and we're going to put in a click event. And we simply say tl.play, and that is it. Let's give this a shot. Click. Wait, why did it take so long? What is happening? Oh, the delay. Let's remove that. Click. Okay, that's a little bit too fast. That's why I had a longer duration in here. I think I did, didn't I? Yeah, the duration on this element, I think, needs to be longer. Yes, we're gonna add a duration right here. So duration 1.2. It's a little bit better, a little bit wonky looking. Hold on, let's refresh this. Something's happening now because I think we adjusted that value where this is no longer animating in properly. And what I'm talking about is this value right here. Let's change this to like, see what happens. All right, that's a little bit. So let's try 1. There we go. Now that's coming in too soon. How funny is that? Now I'm gonna have to, everything breaks when you change one value apparently. 1.2. And I screwed something up. Oh, we gotta put this over here. All right, that's better. I think we'll call that a day right there. Yeah, I could probably improve the animation a little bit with the timings and adjustments, but overall, pretty happy with how this has turned out. All right, so hopefully you learned something new and you enjoyed it. If you did, I need you to do just a couple things. Make sure to subscribe, click the bell notification icon, leave a comment, and like the video. All right, I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.